Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to break down the claims and arguments from our source material about those recently unsealed documents. You know, the ones known as the Epstein files.
So the source we're analyzing describes this as a massive Epstein dump and says it's filled with what it calls some truly alarming and vile claims. And as you can see from this quote, some of these are described as very disturbing allegations against the President of the United States. So let's break down what those claims are in a really structured way.
To really get a handle on the source's full argument, we're going to walk through these 5 key sections. We'll start with the foundational claims, then get into the core allegations, the wider circle of names that gets pulled in, a pretty wild conspiracy theory, and finally, the claims of political complicity.
Okay, first up, what the source calls a massive dump. Now, according to the material we're looking at, these allegations seem to originate from an FBI tip line. And that leads the source to ask a pretty big question. Why wasn't this information released by the Department of Justice much sooner?
All right, now let's get to the heart of it. This next section is all about the core allegations aimed directly at Donald Trump. This is really the central focus of the commentary we're analyzing.
The first major allegation highlighted by the source is about these so-called calendar girls parties. The claim is that these events took place at Mar-a-Lago where children were supposedly auctioned off. But the source goes even further, claiming that Trump would measure and rate the children based on their tightness.
And the allegations don't stop there. Here's another distinct and incredibly serious one from the source material, this time involving an alleged assault against a 13-year-old girl.
So this is a really crucial point. The source presents this direct, and I mean powerful quote you see on screen. And to add another layer to this allegation, the source claims that Ghislaine Maxwell was also present during the assault.
Okay, so let's move on and see how this all starts to expand. The source argues that these allegations are not just about one person. Nope. The claim is that this extends to a whole network of powerful individuals.
And wow, this table really gives you a sense of the sheer breadth of this source's claims, connecting huge figures from tech, finance, and politics right into Epstein's circle. I mean, it alleges Elon Musk's name appears everywhere as a party guest. It claims Bill Gates got antibiotics from Epstein for STDs from Russian hookers. It even alleges that Obama's White House counsel advised Epstein on how to answer questions about Trump.
All right, this is where it gets into what the source calls a theory of conspiracy. This is its attempt to explain what it sees as a very sudden and frankly very unusual political realignment among all these different people.
And this question is absolutely central to the source's entire argument. It's basically asking, why are all these powerful people, who didn't seem to have much in common before, suddenly lining up behind Trump in 2024? The source is suggesting that this is way more than just a coincidence. And here's the answer the source puts forward, citing Joshua Eagle. The theory is that this isn't about politics or ideology at all. It's supposedly a deal, protection or a cover-up in return for loyalty.
So here's how the source breaks down this alleged quid pro quo. Step 1. Powerful people are implicated in the Epstein files. Step 2. Trump allegedly offers them protection from investigation. And step 3, in return for that protection, they provide political loyalty and, of course, funding. The source specifically points to Elon Musk's financial support as the textbook example of this alleged deal in action.
Finally, the source zooms out to look at the bigger picture. It expands its critique to argue that the failure to deal with these allegations points to a much broader complicity within the political system, law enforcement, and even society itself.
According to the source, this is a story of failure on both sides of the aisle. On the one hand, you have the Democrats and the Biden DOJ. Their approach is described as an honorable separation of the DOJ from the presidency. But the source's critique? It was just plain ineffective. It failed to hold anyone accountable. On the other hand, you have Trump and his allies, accused of weaponizing the DOJ into a kind of personal law firm. The source calls this a criminal organization designed to protect its allies. So, two totally different approaches that, in the source's view, led to the exact same result, a complete failure of accountability.
Now, this is interesting. The source then offers a kind of psychological analysis to explain the continued support from evangelical voters. It claims they've been conditioned to accept abuse from people in power and are engaged in willful denial when it comes to their political allies. It even suggests the alleged depravity is familiar from their own circles, and that religion is used as both a weapon and a shield. It's a heavy theory, suggesting a normalization of abuse within these communities.
And that really brings us to the final lingering question that this material leaves you with. If what the source alleges is true, this deep-seated systemic corruption, then what on earth does accountability even look like? How can justice possibly function when the very institutions meant to provide it are, according to the source, allegedly compromised themselves? It's a tough question, and that's the challenge this analysis puts forward.